There we go. It's amazing how often you can cure software problems by just going back and starting over. Welcome to the could you turn your camera off, Gavin? Thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Welcome to the May 2023 edition of CPO1. We always begin by sharing the county land acknowledgement. This was prepared in conjunction with the tribes who used to live here. We acknowledge the people on whose land we live, the Atfality Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we are on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, they're descendants of tribal members of Grand Ronde and Celebes tribes, carrying on the traditions and cultures of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude for the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacies, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I'd like to invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the Indigenous land and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribes to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces. And I was just able to witness the resilience of the land when I went down to McMinnville to Linfield College for the Camas Festival. They had a piece of property that belonged to the college that had been covered in blackberries. And their environmental studies group went and cleared the blackberries. And the next season, they were rewarded with a field of camas. And it was so beautiful. And the festival was timed perfectly because they were all in bloom. It was absolutely amazing. And several of the Grand Ronde tribal members were at the event and were sharing information, and they were pretty sure that that spot had been used previous to colonization as a tribal winter spot, food gathering area. It was amazing. So anyway, now we'll go ahead and hear from some of our service providers. I usually just go in a specific order. Who have we got? Sheriff's Office. Tabitha, are you here?
I am here. Thank you for having us. I do apologize. We don't have a deputy tonight. They got called out last minute, but I will give a few announcements for public affairs. And like Virginia said, my name is Tabitha. I'm with Sheriff's Office, and I'm in our community outreach group. So the Sheriff's Office is hiring. So if you know anyone that is interested in becoming a patrol deputy, a jail deputy, or a jail services technician, or a criminal records specialist, we are hiring for those positions. You can go to joinwcso.com. We also just want to provide a safety tip with the weather getting better. We want to remind people of the 9 p.m. routine. So make sure to bring in like your garden stuff, any bikes outside, any kids' toys, take your items from your vehicle, bring them inside, lock them up. And then lastly, we just also want to remind people that we have the canine trials on May 20th. It's a great free family event at Hillsborough Stadium from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Should be great weather, hopefully, for that event as well. So we encourage people to go to that. Oh, and it looks like we do have Deputy Nordstrom here. So I will provide the calls for service map real quick and let our deputy talk about that.
Great. Deputy, unmute. There we go.
Sorry about that. Just now clearing a call, so I was disposed for quite a while. So I'm not sure what was talked about up until now. I apologize for that. But in general, from looking at this map, I'm not necessarily seeing major items of note that are really kind of difference between kind of the same things that we're seeing is in terms of crimes of opportunity is a lot of the things that we're dealing with when we're talking about property crimes. So I think as I was getting on, kind of some of the last things I was hearing is making sure you're taking your items inside, making sure you're securing things that are valuable and important to you. And that is probably the predominant common trend that we keep seeing for these crimes.
Anything exciting going on?
Well, we're definitely staying busy. The warm weather is bringing out people, bringing them, making them more active and stuff like that. So it's always certainly exciting to one degree or another, and definitely having fun today.
Yeah, we prefer to not be exciting around here.
Well, exciting doesn't
Anybody know anything about the follow-up with that guy that shot the woman over in Cedar Mill? I know they caught him, but I couldn't get any updates. Is there anything you guys can share? That was way too exciting.
Yeah. Not something that I know about. Unfortunately, today is my first day back after being sick for about 3 weeks. So I'm a little bit out of the loop. But I don't know if Tabitha, if you have any more information on that. If not, if that's something that maybe I can follow up with.
Yeah.
And get some more information.
PIO.
Yeah, we'll have to get a little follow-up on that. I couldn't answer that question.
I'd really like to, because, you know, we just generally don't have shootings in downtown Cedar Mill. And we like it that way.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Let's bring on some more of our, unless anybody has questions. Okay, great. We're gonna invite the sheriff to a meeting before too long, and we'll do a whole public safety.
Okay, so we have TFNR. We have a THPRD person here.
Wonderful. I love it. Hi.
Hi, I'm not speaking in person. It's my first time, really.
No, well, it's our, we had a kind of a soft open for this interactive hybrid meeting last month, and it worked so well that we decided to carry on. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Well, I have a lot of updates. It's spring and moving into summer, so lots going on at the Parks District. Summer registration is open, so if you haven't registered already for summer, do jump into that on the webpage. May is National Water Month, so join for youth and family activities, swimming lessons, safe swimmer pledge, water watch, jump in, lots of great water activities for all ages. Details can be found at our webpage under activities and aquatics. We also have splash pads opening on Memorial Day weekend. That includes the one here where we are today at Cedar Grove and across the district. If you're curious about where those are, you can look them up on our webpage. We have a page that shows where all of those are. Youth volunteers are needed for the summer. So youth volunteers are needed for our RISE program. That's ages 13 plus, can help with classes, camps, and learn great skills for job development. We also have some park development updates. Big thing happening on Thursday that's not super far from here is we are hosting a Nature Family Fun Night at Willow Creek Greenway this Thursday, May 11th at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. You can drop in anytime. The event aims to connect people with the Willow Creek Greenway and raise awareness of the project that's coming up there, where we'll be replacing the boardwalk there. So there'll be lots of like fun activities at that event, free giveaways. We'll be doing some bilingual nature walks, so you can go out and take a nature walk that's guided. Another thing that's happening in park maintenance is Somerset Meadows Park, which is also not super far from your area. Staff will be removing 6 maple trees that have been declining in health over the past couple of years, but they will be replaced with drought-tolerant trees selected by certified arborists. In other news, for community events, we have Cinco de Mayo dance at LC Stir Center on, oh, that's Friday the 5th, sorry, that's an old one. I missed it. We also have Memorial Day that is coming up. So THPRD and the American Legion Post 124 will host an annual Memorial Day program to honor fallen American military service members and veterans. They will also feature flyovers and keynote speakers. The ceremony will be held at Veterans Memorial Park on Monday, the 29th at 10 a.m. So definitely join us for that if you're interested. In other news, National Senior Health and Fitness Day at LC Stir will host on May 31st at noon, starting at noon to 1:30. You can meet fitness instructors, learn about health and wellness programs, and participate in fitness classes, and it's all for free. And then last thing to share, it's just to note, if you are driving through the area of Bronson Creek near the corner of Laidlaw and Saltzman, you might see some earthwork being done there. So we, on that property, will be performing some earthwork and habitat restoration along the Bronson Creek, beginning as early as June. And that's expected to be completed in the fall of 2023. The idea is to enhance and preserve wetland, stream, and forested habitat for native wildlife along the Bronson Creek there. There's maybe a little bit of dust and noise, but we expect minimal impacts to the area. So if you need to learn more about that, you can reach out to me or the general contact through the THPRD website. There is a portal there. Again, my name is Liana Hardin, and I think you have my contact information, Virginia.
Yeah, I wrote about a little bit about that in the April issue of Cedar Mill News. That was Ken Findley's old property, and it's very interesting. They had a pond that was part of their farm, and there are native turtles in there that crawl up past his house and dig holes in his garden and lay their eggs, and then crawl back down to the pond. And so, yeah, they're doing a lot of work there, and I'm going to follow up with some more information later. I just want to say that Willow Creek Greenway is really a gem. I sometimes have my dog with me when I'm out and about, and she likes to take a walk every once in a while. And there are many ways to access that, the Willow Creek Greenway. And I always seem to find an entrance somewhere, and I take a little walk with the dog and look at the pretty creek and the wetland, and then boom, I'm in the apartments. So it's a very nice facility, and it has a lot of access for all the residents. I love it.
It is a beautiful site. Yeah, so everybody definitely encourage you to come out on Thursday evening. I think it'll be lovely. And then before I go, mention, I am obviously not Nicole Paulson. She's your normal update representative. She's out this week, so I'm just filling in for her. But you may see me again in the future as I fill in for different folks across the district.
You did great.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you very much. This is exciting to have some of our service providers in person. Hi, Mary. Okay, the next. Let's see, we've got Fire. Let's go ahead and hear from Fire. Gavin, take it away.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me. Hi, thanks for having us. My name's Gavin Price. I'm a lieutenant with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue here at Station 60. We're located off basically Cornell Road in 95th. Want to talk about some of the current events that we have going on right now as well, like the Sheriff's Department. We're doing a bunch of hiring as well. Right now is a good time to get into the fire service. We've got a lot of retirements coming up here within the next, from now up to the next 5 years. So if you guys know anybody, this is a great time to start applying and picking that path for a career. You can go on to our website, which is www.tvfr.com, and there should be a link that kind of talks about that process. Currently, we just had a recruit academy graduate. What that basically means is they spent, I believe it's either 3 or 4 months being trained on kind of learning firefighting skills and stuff. They graduated, so now they got dispersed out to different stations within the district, and they'll spend a year on probation. We currently have another recruit academy going right now, so they're being trained up. So we're really busy right now with the fire districts, just with new recruits, with promotional people that are becoming drivers, promoting to officers at the lieutenant level, captain level, battalion chief level. So it's definitely a busy time right now in the fire service. What else do I have? May 12th, if you happen to be around the Beaverton Hillsdale area and Highway 217, you're going to probably notice a bunch of firefighters on the streets. We have our Fill the Boot that we do every year. We're only doing it one day this year, and it's basically to raise money for muscular dystrophy. So we do that through our local union, and our goal this year is to try to raise $30,000 if we can. Last month, this is kind of old news, but we had a scout day at one of the Wilsonville stations, which was station 5-2. And that was tailored for 1st grade through 4th grade. So they got to go and tour the fire station. They got to kind of go and gain some insight on firefighter careers. They learned about fire safety and escape plans. Portland Metro Fire Camp is coming up in July, and that's geared for women in the fire service ages 16 to 22. It's going to be July 14th, 15th, and 16th, and then there's going to be another the week after, which will be July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Unfortunately, the applications were due on May 1st, so it's probably closed by now. But that's going to be something that's coming up, and we'll have people from our fire district that will take part in that and help with that program over in Portland. What else do I have? This month, the fire stations, we're getting ready to gear up for wildland fire season. So all our stations are going to be going through some training this next couple months. Which just deals with wildland firefighting stuff, which brings up another topic that I'd like to talk to you guys about. Just being prepared this summer. I don't know if you guys have thought about that, but making sure that, you're prepared if you live in an area that, you have a chance of being near a forest fire, that you're just prepared. Some of the stuff we talk about, we ask that, you delimb trees at least 10 feet up from the ground, and that you cut back tree limbs that are hanging over your roof. Trim branches that are within 10 feet of any of your chimneys. Consider replacing wood shake roofs with a more non-combustible fire resistant material. Gutters, it's always a good time now to start clearing out your gutters from, the brush and debris that get in there, especially when the hot months come. Regularly mowing your lawn and watering your lawn. And then planting low growing fire resistance plants such as ground covers, annuals, stuff like that. It's always good to talk with your family about having just being prepared if you do have to evacuate, that you're prepared, that you have stuff that's important to you, that if you are asked to leave your neighborhood, that you're just ready to get out and go. So other than that, any questions for me?
I'm surprised to hear neither you nor the sheriff to mention the 4-inch rule about windows, because we're going to be having some hot weather coming up.
Yeah. Did you say about? We
don't need any more toddler plunges.
Yes, and you brought up I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, very important if you know anybody that have young children or you yourselves have young kids. It's a good idea to make sure you can buy those window locks. We recommend if you are going to open up a window, not to have it open more than 4 inches, and then having that lock set in place. Also, make sure you're not having any furniture where kids can climb up onto and get near a window. I mean, it happens unfortunately every summer, and it's not a good thing, but just to be prepared for that. So if there's any kids around, definitely try to keep those windows locked out and those kiddos safe.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I didn't see any questions. let's see, we do have Tualatin Valley Water District.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to join you this evening. We also have a budget work session going on at the same time, so I'm going to pop over there. I'll leave my contact
Okay.
information in the chat. Just as a reminder, this is Drinking Water Week, and this is the time of year when we do release our annual quality report about the water. We do sampling all year long at all different kinds of entry points. That's how we can assure your water is safe to drink at all times. And a summary of all those samples, there's literally thousands, are compiled into a report and released to the community. So you can see that on our website. I'll put the link in here when I'm done. Another big happening right now is the construction of the additional resilient water supply. This is a generational investment. That's why your water rates are going up at a higher rate than inflation. We are fully contracted for that now. So the increases that we experienced just at the end of COVID are behind us. We know how much the system's going to cost. And so we will be in our last 2 years of rate setting. The budget committee right now is studying the proposed budget. When they're done with that, we'll have a rate setting process through the summer, and additional water rates go in effect for your drinking water on November 1st. I'm going to leave it at that, other than to say, because we are expecting a hefty increase for this generational supply, we are also going to be rolling out a new assistance program. The board will hear the findings from that citizen work group at their board meeting later this month, next Wednesday night. And what they're proposing is a 20% discount for customers in our lower income tiers in Washington County. And that would be on their volume and their fixed charges. So that's coming soon too for customers we anticipate will struggle to pay their water bill. So I'll put my contact information in, and if you have any questions, you can contact me at the office or email me, but I'm going to jump back over to the budget meeting, and I really want to thank you for making this time for us.
Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate your popping in. I know what it means to have 2 or 3 different things going on. Thank goodness for Zoom. Imagine still being running around in your car.
I know. It's not as bad of a choice as it used to be. So
yeah, and I don't know if you saw, but we had our THPRD person arrive in person at our in-person site. So we're truly hybrid.
It's right. I'm looking forward to being there in person myself.
Thank you. Well, I don't see that we have anybody from Clean Water Services, and Beaverton School District is one of our main presenters. So I believe that we're done. There I am. I believe that we're done with our community service providers. There is going on right now a neighborhood meeting for 560 Northwest Dale. And that has kind of reared its somewhat questionable head. I'm going to share my screen with the article that I put in the Cedar Mill News this time. And please pardon the image, but that's what it turned out to be when it was looking at the water, the SNR map. I mean, I know it looks like Peyronie's disease, but it's actually the wetland and SNR around the property. This is 560 Northwest Dale, and they're proposing once again to put a 7 townhome development. Mary Lou Oberson, who is a CPO member and also part of the Tree Keepers, is attending that meeting right now. It was my bad because I didn't notice that they had scheduled concurrently with our CPO meeting, but I guess it was his bad for not doing it. But in any case, he did offer to come to the next CPO meeting, and I think we might just have him do that because well, Fran can talk to this a little bit more than I can, but we're not going to go into it deeply right now because we don't have time. But there's a stay on the county right now for approving any developments with a wildlife component. And there are big questions about whether something in an SNR would qualify for that. But in any case, we probably will have the guy back to our June meeting so that we can find out what's going on. And Mary Lou will give us a report from the meeting tonight. Moving right along, there's a lot in this issue of the Cedar Mill News about the CPO, including a short editorial I did about the CPO system. So if you value what we do here in bringing the community news and information about what's going on around us and having, trying to participate in how things unfold, please read this and feel free to let me know what you think. But we're in a kind of a 2-year existential crisis, which hasn't been a whole lot of fun. The election is on May 16th. Be sure to mark your ballots. We have Beaverton School District candidates. That's kind of our primary or number one issue on the ballot, but then there are also board members for many of our service districts, and the boards actually do make a difference in how those districts operate. So go vote. On May 17th, we are going to have the initial meeting, and I'm going to share my screen again, of the Cedar Mill Community Club. And when we had such a wonderful response from the community in having our Christmas tree lighting, I got to thinking, gee, let's parlay this into a real group that can do stuff in the community. And it is Cedar Mill focused, and I know CPO 1 encompasses Cedar Hills, but Cedar Hills people are welcome to participate. And this again is going to be a hybrid meeting at the library, the Cedar Mill Library Community Room, and online again. And we have a bunch of ideas, but we really want everyone else's ideas and participation. We created a Facebook group for the Cedar Mill Community Club, but we know that there are a lot of people that don't participate via Facebook. So we have an email sign up that was linked from that article. There we go. And we just want everybody to get involved. Things like painting more murals in the community, cleaning up the streets, getting involved in the Cider Festival and other community events. I mean, the ideas are going to just start rolling out as soon as everybody gets involved. So May 17th, 6 to 7 p.m. at the library or on Zoom. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that link into the chat, everyone. Okay. And the last thing that I wanted to announce is that there's a group of people that are working to save the JQA Young House, and saving it is not a hyperbole. There's drainage problems and foundation problems, and so they've been working with the park district that owns it to shore it up so that it doesn't deteriorate, and then after that to raise money to rehabilitate, renovate, whatever. And they have been meeting every Friday in May under the big hickory tree on Fridays at 5 p.m. And they say BYOB, so I don't know what all that means, but it sounds like a party to me. So go party under the hickory tree and find out what the Friends of JQA Young House are up to. I'll be there this Friday, I hope. Beyond that, we just found out that the school district has sold a property to, or no, they haven't sold it, but they have an offer from the Noise Development Company to buy property that had been slated for a school. And this just kind of came down the pike the last couple of days, and I've heard from some residents, neighbors, and I know that we're going to hear from the school district, and they're aware of this, but Mary Manso, who's at the meeting tonight, may or may not have anything to say about it, but she's been watching this. It happens to be property that was sold to the district several years ago by the Chobin family, and they've been a very important family in Cedar Mill. They used to own everything that we now call Timberland, and they still own the building that Si Senor Mexican restaurant is in. The family were farmers, very important in the early days of Cedar Mill, but that's all irrelevant. But they had property, and I'm going to try to find that email because it has a bunch of pictures. No, that's not it. There we go. I'm going to do another screen share. So this is the Chobin family home. This is Westview High School. This is the property. It was bought to be an elementary school so that the existing Rock Creek Elementary could become a middle school. Well, time passed, and Tumwater was built, and so the district says they don't need another middle school. And one thing and another, Mary was able to get some interesting information from Stephen Sparks, who is the I forget his entire title, but he's the property guy at the school district. And this was the statement that he sent back, and I have permission from Shelley to share this. And I think it's interesting because people have been questioning the district when they say that enrollment is declining. But this is a pretty concise description of why enrollment is declining. It's still a possibility. It says, from the work we have done, the birth rate has dropped considerably, and the price of housing is really high for young families. Some infill is taking place, but the rate of new students is not keeping up with the rate of matriculating students. The new apartments in Central Beaverton, for example, are generating really small numbers since the units are largely one bedroom and market rate. The West End development currently has 19 K-12 students out of 424 DU, whatever that is, outside of the Sato Elementary School area, and that's up in Bethany. The schools in the northern side are also on a declining trend as the population ages. For example, Findlay Elementary School's enrollment has declined quite a bit in the past 5 to 6 years. That's not exactly a scientific description of a number, but as the students are moving through the system. So I thought that was interesting to share. There are other questions in relation to this sale. One of the main ones is that the family, when they agreed to sell to the Beaverton School District, they did not want housing to be developed there. They liked the idea of a school going in there. A lot of the nearby residents have been hoping that it could be a park, and the folks use it as a park. The neighbors reached out to the park district. I haven't got all the details about that, but apparently the park district declined to look at it. There are more nice photographs, which I'll just quickly run through that email that I had. There we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen yet again. So these are some photos of the property and paths that the neighbors have developed. And the guy who wrote to the Washington County Board, which has basically nothing to do with this, said that people go there and pick fruit from the orchards that are remnants of the old farm. And it is very pretty. I don't quite know what to say about it at this point, but it's something that I said I'd share at the meeting tonight. And if folks have questions about it, please let me know. Fran, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I just want to clarify one important point when you said that I've talked about this, the state having a stay on Washington
Right.
County, and the SNR area. The stay is only applicable to residential construction developments.
Mhm.
So roads can be processed and approved, and commercial development can be processed and approved. So two things. One is the community needs to be on the lookout for any kind of development, neighborhood meetings or whatever, and then filter, because you got to know that there's nothing to prevent approval of those development applications. And if they're in SNR areas, we want to hear about it.
Right. This Dale Street is definitely residential. It's 7 townhomes. Okay. So
And I think
were there any more questions about the school district sale of property? They originally, the board passed it with the understanding that the money would go to pay down the debt for a new center, which I didn't know anything about, but it's later come to the conclusion that it's just going into the general fund. And Shelley may or may not have anything to say about it. I gave her a heads up that we were going to talk about it, but it wasn't the topic, I believe, of her discussion later on is the budget shortfalls at BSD. And so this is pretty relevant. Anyway, I think we're done with that. If nobody else has any questions, if any attendees or panelists or anybody has any questions, let me know now. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and go to member announcements. Any announcements from the CPO members? Nope. Okay, Stephanie, we're going to hear about the West Side Multimodal Improvement Study, which is jointly Metro and ODA, if I'm not incorrect. And Stephanie Miller is here to tell us all about it. Stephanie, thank you very much for joining us.
Hi there. Thank you for having me, Virginia. I'm going to share my screen and show you a little PowerPoint presentation. We'll see how this goes. Let me see.
You should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, it's just giving me a little, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
And
If you can go into slideshow, we'll be able to see more of your presentation and less of your computer furniture.
great. Is that working now?
If we can see it.
Is it still showing you is it showing you the whole slideshow?
Yeah.
Or the computer? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because all three of my screens are now showing the presentation, so I can't tell what you can see.
If you go up to the top and select slideshow.
Yes,
Right
I
under
am
the
in
orange
now.
bar.
I think it's showing in the wrong screen. Okay.
Well, we all on the west side would very much appreciate improved multimodal transit. So we're very interested in what you have to tell us.
Great. Okay, now I think I've got it working right. Okay. Good. Now can you see the whole screen?
We can't see anything yet.
Oh gosh. Okay.
We could see it before. Bruce, you want to sing us a song or something?
Entire screen. All right. I'm going to go back to this way because
Okay.
it was more or less working.
We can leave
Okay.
it that way.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm Stephanie Villar. I'm from ODOT, and ODOT and Metro are co-project managing this study, the West Side Multimodal Improvement Study. The study area goes from US 26 out to out towards Hillsborough, and the reason the study got started was that the business community and Hillsborough and Washington County contacted the previous governor and asked them to take a look at some of the problems that they were having getting their goods to market. So with the congestion on US 26, businesses are finding it difficult to get their goods to downtown Portland, to the freeway going north or south, or out to the Port of Portland and the airport. And those delays are causing them some problems. Is it advancing for you guys?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. The project partners involved are ODOT and Metro are co-managing, as I said. And then we have a steering committee and a project management group of technical staff that comes from these different organizations. So City of Beaverton, Hillsborough, Portland, Multnomah and Washington counties, TriMet. And then we also brought in a couple of business group representatives to make sure that we were hearing what the business community needed to share. And we wanted to make sure that we were capturing the thoughts of historically underserved communities, like through Centro Cultural and through APANA, which is Asian Pacific Islanders organization. So we identified some issues and some needs, and some of the issues that we see consistently in this area is that transit travel times are not competitive with driving, inadequate last mile access. So the distance between where you get off the bus and where you get to your final destination or your home may not have sidewalks. It may be a great distance. Congestion is a problem due to limited capacity. There's not a lot of other routes besides a couple of really big main ones. Traffic safety for all users and modes, and that impaired freight movement that that got the ball rolling in the first place. So those needs that we're trying to address are improving those multimodal options, increasing transportation equity, reduce congestion and improve safety, improve freight mobility, and also reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This area is pretty important to Oregon. It's home to the Silicon Forest, and it's a cluster of a lot of tech businesses that bring in a lot of money to Oregon. There's also a lot of other things going on out there. And so we recognize that it's really an important part of our economy in the state. Freight patterns are really interesting. So the picture on the left is the darkness of the blue on the left is showing total truck traffic, average daily truck traffic totals. And the darker the line, the more heavy the truck traffic. So you can see on US 26 that you've got 67,000 trucks a day. But then when you come over to the right-hand map, you see that that's actually only 5.3% of the trips that are going through there. So what we can tell from this is that there's a congestion problem, but it's not the freight. But when you look up here at Cornelius Pass Road, you can start to see this much darker brown line, and you can see that as a percentage of trips, there's a lot of trucks that are diverting. Part of that's because the Vista Ridge Tunnel is not rated for hazardous materials, so they have to take Cornelius Pass. And part of it just is that the timing is more reliable. You're less likely to get stuck in traffic. Commute patterns in the area also tell us a lot about what's happening with the transportation. One of the things that we found using something called red light data, which is when they ping cell phones and kind of track them anonymously to see where they're coming from and going to, is the origin and destination of people on an average commute. So what we found was that there's 97,000 people coming into this study area for jobs Monday through Friday, and 64,000 who live in the area who are going out. So you have this big cross movement happening. There's only about 27,000 who actually live and work in the area. Any questions so far?
That was really interesting. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love data. I think it's really interesting. So this is where we are in our study, just to give you a sense before I get into a little bit more depth. We've gone through developing a list of options, identifying the needs, doing some initial screening with our steering committee and our PMG. We've had some public outreach opportunities, and we've developed scenarios. And at this point, we're about ready to evaluate the scenarios. So starting out, we identified investment options. We combed through existing plans and studies and talked with our project management group, who are technical staff from all of the jurisdictions involved. And they identified over 80 different projects that they felt could help move the needle on the congestion problem in the area. We then broke those into scenario groupings so that we could kind of compare them to each other. And so the first grouping is system management, and that's kind of the low-hanging fruit, the things that are easy to accomplish. So trying to make transit faster by adding more routes or more buses, transit subsidies to encourage more people to ride transit, encouraging carpooling, biking, ramp meters. Sorry, I could not hear that. Was that a question for me? Okay, I'll keep going. Scenario grouping 2 is relatively short-term improvements, so things that we could do more quickly than others, a little less depth of work needed to do them. So other kinds of transit improvements, like bus rapid transit, park and rides, some minor improvements to some interchanges, some different things like that. Then in number 3, we get into some things that are bigger improvements to existing infrastructure. So these start getting into stuff that would be more expensive and take longer to get on the ground and get moving. Finally, in number 4, we look at really big ideas. So there were a few things floating around out there that haven't actually made it into formal plans, but that people have talked about. So there's conversations about a new North Willamette Bridge that would go with a tunnel under Germantown Road that would come out and go basically help get people, without going through downtown, up to the airport and ports and things on the east side, and a few other things like that. And then finally, just because people wanted to see what would happen, they asked us to take a look at what would happen if we did congestion pricing or tolling. So all of these we will be running through a transportation model and looking to see what moves the needle and makes a difference in in the congestion that we're looking at today. Okay. Then we'll take that information and we'll look at it through an evaluation lens. And some of the kinds of things that we'll be looking at is with mobility and reliability, are we changing the number of people that we're putting through the system during a day and during peak periods? How much diversion are we seeing onto local streets from different things that we try? Have we made a difference in vehicle delay? Is the travel time reliability any better? So if you're going to downtown Portland and you think it should take you 20 minutes, does it take you 20 minutes every time? Or could it possibly take you an hour? Safety, addressing crashes of all types. Social equity, looking at if the kinds of things that we're looking at does anything to increase jobs and places that are reachable by 30 minutes from any mode of transportation, and what those household costs are with transportation. Climate action, looking at vehicle miles traveled, reductions, and using that as kind of a proxy for emissions. And then economic vitality. How's our access to essential destinations? Freight travel cost index, which is something a little complicated that that Metro would be helping us with, and some other things like that. So here we are right now, and in this phase, we'll be running these models over the next 2 months and then bringing them back to the steering committee, comprised mostly of elected officials, in August. And at that time, we'll share with them what we're finding, get their recommendations, and develop some preferred scenarios to move forward into a draft implementation plan. And no construction will come out of this project. It will be identifying a series of actions to study further and see how we can move the needle on this issue. Any questions?
Thank you. So there was a big elephant missing in the, if you could bring back your screen share, in the alternative, which is the city of Portland and their streets. There are a couple of alternative routes into downtown, and the city of Portland told us if we improve them, you'll only drive on them. And I mean, that doesn't seem like something that ought to be off the table. I mean, this was a big issue in CPO1 quite a while ago, and it hasn't gone away. Whether Metro has any role, we were told that the jurisdictions have to duke it out among themselves, and unincorporated Washington County somehow has to make PBOT behave. But that, you know, without Metro, it doesn't seem like that's likely to happen. So can you address that?
So we are looking at streets that are owned or managed by different jurisdictions. So some of them are ODOT, like US 26 and Cornelius Pass. And then others are owned by the county or by one of the cities involved. We're not getting down into a really fine grain of specific streets and what improvements would be made at those levels. But yeah, it's a balancing act between the jurisdictions and negotiating things.
Because, you know, a route that seems logical for some people, and especially those of us in the north part of north of 26, we like to call ourselves, is the Barnes or Cornell, and then over Burnside and into town. And Portland just keeps on putting up barriers to that. They definitely, I mean, that turn from Skyline onto Burnside is you
Oh, I
take your
know.
life in your hands every time.
Terrifying. I do that one
It
too.
is horrible.
Yeah.
And I swear they keep it that way to discourage people using it. But what do I know? But it seems like a role that Metro could step up to, and or ODOT, because if Portland keeps saying, don't come here, except that we want you to work for our companies, it seems, I don't know. What do I know?
So Barnes and Cornell are both something that shows up in the model in the level 3 scenarios. So making some improvements to those to help to see what would happen in terms of.
But when you get to the passes, if Barnes and Cornell are improved, it'll still be a bottleneck in the passes and tunnels and getting into Portland. I know. This, it's been a frustration for us out here for a long time. But I appreciate the rest of it. I've always wondered whatever happened to the freight train, because, aside from congestion and pollution, there's a safety element of having, huge trucks on the highways competing basically for the lanes with the little, electric cars. And is that a component at all in ODOT thinking, freight rail?
Well, ODOT doesn't own or manage freight rail. It's an independent entity. And but we did double check to make sure that they were still operating in that corridor. And they are. They do have service.
Beaverton has a train running right down the middle of it.
Yeah. So they, it's a business decision how businesses choose to ship their goods. And it's all depends on whether it's perishable, how fast it needs to get there, how valuable it is. And
there are incentives,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm sure okay. Fran has questions. Fran, jump in.
Just two things. One is that you mentioned about climate defense. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Fran.
Hi. I've worked a lot with Washington County transportation issues for a number of years, but I'm also working on climate action and climate defense. So I have a concern about, you mentioned about the decrease in emissions calculations when we increase mobility. Great. I'm hoping that you're also calculating in the impervious surface offset, because the more impervious surface we have, the greater the heat generated. And as we have this climate changes, it's going to be really difficult. What would be really great is if in this study that something came out about what are the alternatives for the impervious surfaces that might help us the temperature offset, and give some guidance to the municipalities and the various jurisdictions, because I think they're seeking out how can we increase the mobility of all different modes without increasing the temperature of the neighborhoods and the stuff. So I'm hoping that you have something in that study having to do with that.
That's a really good point, and that's super interesting. I have worked a little bit with our climate office at ODOT and with our maintenance people on some of those types of issues, but it's not part of this study. But I know that there's people talking about it.
So I'm part of the Urban Heat Islands project stuff. So if you have any questions or anything, please reach out. I would love to give some input. Okay.
Great. Thanks. You. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Fran. I don't see any more questions. This is really interesting. I would definitely like to follow up with you, Stephanie, for a little bit more of an article in the June Cedarville News. We have lots of folks who read it. And
great.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot more information in the fall after the modeling is done. And I think the material that I already sent you kind of gets you to where we are today, which is we have all this information and we're about to dive deep into how to model it and look at it.
Are we at a point now where it's too late for community input?
No, there's certainly always time for community input, but we can talk offline. I know you have other presenters that want to get in today.
is there a page or an email address or something that you can put into the chat to everyone so that we
Absolutely.
can continue this conversation?
Yes,
Because
I will put a link to the web page in the chat, and then there
Great.
is a mailbox there that goes directly to me, actually. And there's
Wonderful.
also a mailing list
The
that you
buck
can sign up
stops
for.
there.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
There we go. All right. Well, my goodness, we're almost on schedule. It's time now to hear from the Beaverton School District. Let's see, Christina, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Please accept. And Shelley, same deal. And go ahead and turn on your cameras. So we invited Christina Mackin to the meeting to talk about how to volunteer to help in the school, what the requirements are, what some of the volunteer work is. And then Shelley Bailey Shaw, as the public communications officer, asked to join us, and we're going to hear from her too. So
Great. Thank you for having us, Virginia. Do I have
Shelley?
screen sharing privileges?
Sure.
And then I'll let Christina get started.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks again for having us here. For those of you that don't know me or have never heard from me, I am the Community Resource Coordinator for the Beaverton School District. Long-winded title for a person who basically works with all 54 of our principals. I encourage them to build relationships and then nourish those relationships, which then lead to long-term community partnerships, which is part of our AR. And you can find all of that under community partnerships on our website. Then on the flip side, I work with community to align their missions and passions with the schools that have those similar interests. So if you're Bank of America and you have a passion to read with kindergartners, then I would hook you up with a school that has kindergartners that need reading to, those kinds of things. And the main thing I also look at with our corporate partners, I look at their CSRs, their corporate social responsibilities, and where that aligns with that mission, community giving and donations and volunteerism. For some, that is offering an incentive to employees to volunteer. For others, it's mandatory that you volunteer 5 hours a year, that kind of thing. So we coordinate that and align that with what they want to do and what our schools are needing at the time. As far as individual volunteerism goes, our Clothes for Kids, which many of you know, and I know, Virginia, you've served there as well. There's shifts there for shoppers that help kids and families shop for clothes. That's appointment based, but we also have needs for sorters that sort through those clothes, all of the different donations that come in from you all across the district. And we have volunteers that sort that. So we can always use donations for that, and we can always use that help. And you can find that through that website under volunteerism and community involvement. AVID is another one. AVID is an acronym that stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. It's a program that generally that was started in 1980 from an English teacher in San Diego who saw that first generation college-bound students might get a kick in the pants if they worked together, more than if they were directed by adults. So she created a Socratic forum where people can just answer questions. And that is a great program if you have like an hour a week that you want to give to kids. It basically puts you with, 5, maybe 6 kids tops, and you develop rapport and trust and relationships with those kids. And then there's a sense of personal pride when you see those kids have their aha moment. Avid National, just so you know, in case you want to Google it, does call those positions tutors. Tutor, unfortunately, implies content knowledge, and it's actually better if you don't know anything about the subject, because you're more welcome, you're more engaging with that student to help them find the answers, which is great for me because I can help kids with math because I don't know the answers to that. Art literacy, you all know that one. Art literacy is a program that we have in all of our elementary schools. It's led by a wonderful woman. It's also on our website that has kids each quarterly focus around a particular idea, and they can always use help. So you can find that there as well. And I'll get to the hows in just a minute, but I'll just list some of these. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, stands for start making a reader today. That's also another hour a week position, and currently is at Barnes, Beaver Acres, Fir Grove, Hazeldale, Greenway, and Vos. So I think that was 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 schools. That's a great program. It's a national nonprofit. It's in Portland Public. It's in Sherwood District, and it's in all of our school districts here in Oregon. So SMART is a great way if you just have an hour you want to dedicate to reading with kids or helping them find a book that helps their interests. Middle schools, I know that Cedar Park is in your region, in addition to your 2 elementaries, Bonnie Slope and Cedar Mill. Lunchtime help at middle schools. This is one that some of our faith partners and a couple of our corporate partners down the street have helped out with. Vernier is really helpful in this. That's another one, hour a week, or maybe just choose a day once a month. Come and serve at our cafeteria times. Be prepared to answer questions from teenagers. They may stop you and say, what do you do? But it's a great way to help the staff out and just, be another set of eyes for them. Speakers Network is one that we started several years ago, adding and embracing the fact that there are people out there that know a lot of things that aren't necessarily teachers in our schools. So being able to, boast about the self. When's the last time you got to boast about yourself for 20 minutes? To come into our schools, our classrooms welcome those folks to come share some history and experiences with students. And particularly when it aligns with seasonal curriculum or career technical education, which we use in Oregon as an acronym CTE. For example, if you make canoes, that would absolutely wow an elementary kid, but it would also be really relevant to a kid like in this picture here who is in construction or in our manufacturing CTE program. So if you would like to be a guest speaker in that or share some of that knowledge, that would be great. You can check out our webpage of CTE programs across the district and tell 2 friends about it. You surely know neighbors, coworkers, sisters, brothers, everybody who's had some sort of experience in some of those industries. So look at the different lists, either by school or generically on the page of interest that you have or that somebody could share. And again, contact that neighborhood school. So now I'll tell you how. The hows of contact, you can go to the school's webpage, any of the schools. It doesn't necessarily have to be, in your district. You may be having dinner next week with somebody who's way the heck over in Cooper Mountain, and you all share those same interests. So just head to the school's website, read the principal's newsletter, and then click on that PTO, or what we call a PTC sometimes. Click on their newsletter and look at their calendars. Check on both sites and look at the calendars, see what interests you of all of those different things. PTOs have their doors open always to attend one of those community meetings, and would welcome feedback and prior experiences with your own kids or your neighbors' kids to share. They're also always looking for board members. If you have some organizational skills that you can share with them for, again, an hour a month, maybe choose to help them out on their board. Schools are also always looking for classroom support, library volunteers, like reshelving or putting stickers in those library books that say this book belongs to Cedar Mill Elementary, that sort of thing. And then obviously helping at events such as, field day or carnivals or end of the year celebrations. Being a reviewer at the science fair, that's a big one. They're always looking for those. You can count bubbles that Billy has put into his science project. Be one of those reviewers. A couple that I know of off the top of my head, that are in your district. Bonnie Slope, for example, has a monster mash every fall. Huge event at Bonnie Slope. They always fall short on volunteers. So contact Bonnie Slope in the fall and help out with that. Make some cotton candy, help kids with costumes, that kind of thing. You could help Cedar Mill every single Tuesday morning with their running program. Cedar Mill is the Lumberjacks. They call them the Lapping Lumberjacks at 7:45 every Tuesday morning, and just make a check mark on all their little cards as they run. So if you have some time for an hour in the mornings on Tuesday, call Cedar Mill and ask to do that. Cedar Hills Middle School is the last one in your district. They have a community meeting next Tuesday at 6:30, where they'll undoubtedly be talking about their 8th grade breakfast and their 8th grade send-off events. Certainly could use your help with those. Middle school is a tough time to get volunteers from working parents. So anybody else in our community is certainly welcome. They look at those a lot. Last but not least, you do need to be registered in our volunteer management system, which takes truly 2 minutes tops. It is on our website under volunteer. After you volunteer, you can then create a profile, after you register, you create a profile and create a list of interests of each of those schools. You select schools under there. You can select, I like the library, I like to read, I like, whatever it is you like to do. And then you'll start getting emails about events that these various schools are looking for. And that's kind of just a quick snapshot of some individual ones, but we also have group volunteerism. So if CPO1, for example, wanted to volunteer as a group, you could contact me. I could put that together for you and kind of see what you want to do, how you want to serve our schools. As I mentioned, the CSRs earlier, I kind of look at that and make sure that whether it's a once a year event, I've got a small group this week and I've got a group of 60 next week that we're working with. From supporting the groundskeeping crews with raking or weeding, or litter pickup, even at the fence lines outside. Inside, they pull staples from bulletin boards, help pack up curriculum, polish instruments, clean out those trophy cases, organize sheet music and the costumes and the theater departments. There truly is no end to what can be done at these schools. And if you have a new idea, heck, throw it by me. Let's toss another one out to schools. Groups of 5 or less can also serve at the clothes closet, which I mentioned at the beginning as an individual opportunity. They have those, again, sorting clothes or shopping with kids. If you want to do that together as a group, you can do that as well. I guess that's kind of it about me and volunteerism. I could talk for hours, but I won't.
She could. I trust you.
I'll mention this when we have our Cedar Mill Community Club meeting. I thought about inviting you, and you're welcome to come along. But I think if I just say, one of the projects for the community club can be connecting with you and finding ways to interact with our local BSD schools.
Yeah, absolutely. I attend a lot of the PTO meetings in the fall and early winter to kind of get groups thinking about things that they want to do and how to think outside of the box. So happy to do that.
Christina mentioned Cedar Park, Cedar Mill, and Bonnie Slope, but of course you also have Tumwater Middle School, West TV's in the area, Terra Linda, Finley, they're all always looking for help.
It looks like we have questions from the in-person live audience at Cedar Grove. So let's cut to them.
Hi. Hi, Chris Bartlett. I'm curious if the volunteers need to pass a background check in the process of registering.
It is. It is no longer required to provide your social security number, however. So again, that process really does just take 2 minutes in terms of filling out the form. If you are looking to do that for the following day, you won't get passed. I truly recommend a week to 10 days for that process to happen. So a lot of our folks just do that at the beginning of the year, get set, throw in a couple of schools there that you might be interested in. And again, even if it's not in CPO1, you're welcome at other schools.
The other question is there any synergy between the Beaverton School District libraries and the Washington County Cooperative Library System? Do you get books from them?
we have a partnership with them. Our systems are not integrated, so you can't like go in through the school and select something from Washington County. However, the librarians or the LITs, LITs, oh, forgive me, I forget what that's called, but they call them LITs, the acronym. They can find a book, and they have access to that system for a kid. So.
And also the Washington County Library System works with the school district in providing library cards for some of our new readers. And so there's a program in place for that.
I was just going to mention that one. Thank you.
And I wanted to give a plug for clothes for kids, the clothes closet. I got a note from Joanna, the volunteer coordinator for that, and it looks like over 74,000 items of clothing have been distributed through the clothes closet, the clothes for kids so far this year. And they really need volunteers, and Thursday is a good job to go and sort. So
yeah, I have some dates. I can probably put those in here if you're interested. You can simply contact Joanna and set those up. But I did talk to her yesterday about what's your needs before they close out at the end of the year. So donations.
We'll make sure to emphasize that in our meeting, because the Christmas tree event donated loads of clothes, but now we need the bodies to show up to sort all that stuff.
Right, exactly. And it's fun to shop with those kids too, right? You know, if they're looking for a pair of sneakers or they want a pair of sweatpants or whatever that is. So whatever your niche is, they can use help.
Clothes for Kids is actually moving to a new facility. It's going to be still at the old district office, but they're getting a new space, and it's going to really open up the shopping area and allow us to provide students with a much better experience, be able to display more clothing, give people more options. So we're going to be making that move this summer, and then come August, we'll be open for business.
Right. Excellent. Are there any more questions for Christina about volunteering with the BSD? If not, we'll go ahead and transition to Sally.
Great. So I'm just going to cover a few things that are happening in the district right now that I think might be of interest. We've been working all year long on a new strategic plan. As many of you know, we have a new superintendent this year. Dr. Gustavo Balderas joined us in July. He's in his first year, and it's been a number of years since the Beaverton School District had a new strategic plan. We were overdue. So we're working with a consultant firm, and we're at the tail end now of that strategic plan process. We've had a multitude of people participating, folks who have been in committees, focus groups, and filled out surveys. In all, we had about almost 7,900 people participate in the process, and really made a point of including students. In fact, they were the first to participate in focus groups, and they really set the tone for what the strategic plan ended up being. I'm just going to go over a couple of highlights that are included in the strategic plan. If you live in, have kids in the district, you're going to see this start to permeate our messaging home next year and pretty much everything we do. So we've come up with a new promise, and actually this was voted on by the community. We had several thousand people participate. I think we had 6 or 7 options, and this one ended up being the predominant favorite. Belong, believe, achieve. And really, this is the only screen I'm going to read to you because I think it's important. We aim to create an environment in which our students feel a deep sense of belonging to their school communities, where they are accepted, supported, and encouraged to be their authentic selves. We believe in our students' capacity to learn, grow, and thrive, and we want our students to believe in themselves and their limitless potential. And we hold our students to high academic standards and provide them with the support to achieve their own personal goals now and in the future. So that is the new promise from the district, and that rolls into the new vision. And this is a vision statement of what we want every student in our district to feel as they go through our K through 12 system. This is the new mission of the Beaverton School District, to promote a deep sense of belonging while supporting, challenging, and inspiring all students to explore their passions, achieve their goals, and graduate ready to thrive in learning and life after school, or after high school, I should say. And then finally, these are the values that were identified: academic excellence, belonging and dignity, and community connections. And I want to read that one because that really pertains to you in this group. We build on the experiences and strengths of our students, families, staff, and community members to connect with our local and global communities. We show care for and commitment to our community through gratitude and service. So those were kind of the overarching principles. And then it got down into the nitty gritty. And so these are goal areas for our students. And the columns read vertically. So there's a goal of safe and thriving that applies to all students. That has to really do with personal safety and well-being. Foundations of Success is really focused on our pre-K through third grades. Progress and Standards applies to all students. And then College and Career Ready is mostly focused on high schools. And then under those goal areas, you see more delineated goals. And what's happening right now is there's a group of educators in the district who are taking all this input they got from students, parents, community members, and in these high-end goals, and they're getting into the strategies, like how is it that we're going to execute on these promises over the next to 3 to 5 years. So that's the work that's been going on right now, and they're supposed to be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. And then these are the foundational building blocks, really like the district goals. And again, these have sub goals that are now gone to a group of educators who are picking out particular strategies that the district will work on going forward. But the foundational idea here is that the district is going to be promoting equity, engagement, and excellence in everything it does. So once this preliminary plan has been presented to the school board, and then they are set to vote on it and adopt it in June. And then over the summer, we'll do a lot of prep work, and then we'll start to implement the new strategic plan in September. So it's been a year-long process, a lot of people involved, and we're really happy with the direction in which it's been going. I wanted to mention this. This week happens to be our Fake and Fatal Fentanyl Awareness Week in the district. Today actually is National Fentanyl Awareness Day. I'm sure that if you watch any sort of news, you are familiar with the fentanyl crisis, not only in the nation, but right here in Oregon. This really came to light for the district about 2 years ago. We had a local family, a Sunset family, tragically lose their son, the Epstein family, in December of 2020. And they approached the district shortly after that about starting to work together to do some awareness and education. And we took that idea, and it really has grown. And so over the past 2 years, we've been leading this campaign nationally and have developed curriculum in our classes. So every student in the Beaverton School District, 6th grade through 12th grade, gets a fentanyl specific lesson every year, either in their health class or their advisory. There's also been a shift in our counseling so that there's more of a focus, not so much on the punitive nature of drug use, but making sure that we're able to connect families and students with the help that they may need in order to achieve recovery. And then the third thing that has shifted is the school board in August 2021 approved the use of Narcan in all our secondary schools. So there's a group of staff members who have been trained on the use of Narcan, and in case they would need to reverse some sort of overdose. So our push here is really to make sure that our students are aware of the incredible danger from fake pills made of fentanyl, and that their parents are aware of that danger. It's one thing to have this conversation at school, but it really needs to be reinforced at home. So as a part of that, we're having a community conversation next Thursday at 6:30. It's at the district office, and the Epsteins, along with BSD educators and Washington County Sheriff's Department, will be there to give a perspective on what the fentanyl scene looks like in our area right now and to answer questions. And I invite any of you to come to that event in person at the district office, or you can also watch it virtually on the district's YouTube channel. So very important issue, and we're pleased to be presenting that information to the community. Before we take questions, I just wanted to put one last plug in. Next Tuesday is Election Day. There are 3 school board seats up for grabs. So everyone, please vote and get in your ballots so that you have a say in how you're represented on the Beaverton School Board. So, and there's our social media accounts. We put a lot of energy into bringing you great stories and snapshots from all of our schools with our kids and our staff. So if you're a social media user, please follow those accounts. I think that's it, Virginia.
Great. I would just like to know a little bit more about what we've learned is now called the Summit, which is the new district headquarters.
Yeah, so for a number of years, we were located on Merlot Road across from Community School over there near the transit center. And we also had a number of other locations around the district. And one of the problems was that we were so disjointed. Nutrition services was in one area, maintenance was in another area, community and communications were in a completely separate area. So when we had the opportunity to bring all the district under one roof, they did so. The school board voted, I guess it was last spring, to purchase the building on Northwest Waterhouse and 158th, which is the new headquarters of the Beaverton School District. We don't call it the Summit, we call it the District Administrative Office. But now we're able to have all those departments under one roof. It's kind of like one-stop shopping for our students and parents. So they don't have to be going around to all these different multiple locations. It also has significantly increased the ability of our departments to collaborate and hopefully provide better services to our families.
So I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I have other questions. Does anybody else have questions for Shelley or Christine? I don't see any hands. So, oh, there we go. Hello.
I was wondering if the Juntos program is being employed in any of the Beaverton School District high schools. It's a program specifically aimed at Latino students to encourage graduation and subsequent education. It's run by the Oregon State Extension Service. Is Juntos part of your product offering, either Christina or Shelley?
I'm not familiar with that one. We do because of AVID and because of some of the other, ACE programs and things like that. I can certainly look into it though for you and report back.
Well, I'll send you some information about it. You would be the person to receive it more than Shelley?
Either one of us. You can email either one of us, and a lot of our principals, have a passion around a particular program, so it might be something that's in a particular high school, but not maybe district wide. Okay, it's really popular in the Forest Grove School District. Happy to look into it for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. My concern, and I don't have kids in the district. My kids are long grown and gone. Is, and I hope it's not just nostalgia, but for the neighborhood schools, and it's away from the idea of neighborhood schools and sticking kids on buses where they spend 2 hours of their day on a bus to get to the nearest school that has capacity, selling property that could have served as a neighborhood school, moving kids to, pardon me, but I called it a corporate education production facility. And it seems like having parents and families engaged in local community schools is important for more than just the basic education. I just love to hear, Shelley, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Am I behind the times? Is this the way that education's going nowadays?
Well, Virginia, and I am a parent in this district, and I think my kids went to Cedar Mill and Cedar Park, so we were right here in the community. I would argue that Beaverton is a community of neighborhood schools. The vast majority of our students do go to their neighborhood school. All of our elementaries are neighborhood schools. And the vast majority of our middle and high schools are. What we do have are option schools in the district, and those are schools where students are selecting and families are selecting to go to a middle or a high school that has a particular focus. So of course we have ACMA, which is arts and communication. We have BASE, which focuses on science and engineering. And we have ISB, which is an international baccalaureate school. But other than that, the other schools are neighborhood schools. And we see most of our students matriculating through from their local elementary to their neighborhood middle school to their neighborhood high school. So well,
I know recently there was a redrawing of the boundaries, and some of the kids in Cedar Mill are getting bused to Beaverton High School because the district didn't feel that we needed another high school in the area.
So every once in a while, we will redraw the boundaries because our population does shift in the district. But I don't know of any cases where we have students on buses for 2 hours, as you mentioned. The longest rides I've seen have been on to some of these option schools. So for example, let's say you live in the Cedar Mill area, but your son or daughter wants to go to ISB. They do have a longer ride because they go from Cedar Mill to ACMA, where they get on a second bus and they go to ISB. But they've made that choice. And we're actually one of the only school districts in the state that actually guarantees busing to our option schools, which I think our families find quite advantageous. But the vast majority of our students do not have that long of a bus ride. I want to say that, Christine, am I wrong? Is it like the average is maybe 20 minutes?
I think the longest commute is 30 minutes from the Cedar Mill area. And just as a point of reference, Virginia, as you probably know, there's no property in the North End. And the only property that we could buy at that time would not suffice for a high school. There's nowhere you could put a football stadium and tennis courts and all these other things. So our 6 comprehensives do house our students rather well. And as you know, we are rebuilding Beaverton High School for that very reason, because we do have more students, in the area that are coming to the Beaverton High School. Sorry, a little selfish there.
I'm a big fan of the alternative schools. In fact, I just visited Terra Nova and bought some plants at their plant sale and met a lot of really happy students who are able to pursue academic subjects by learning about how to farm. And I'm all over that. I got my BA in education back in the 70s when Summerhill was a big concept, and the idea of learning through not academic classes, but learning something important and picking up all the academic subjects along the way. That's a fabulous way to motivate kids. So I'm all over alternative schools.
Yeah, and
Anyway.
that's actually one of the reasons why our CTE programs are so popular, because that
Yes.
is exactly it. That's that hands-on applied learning that kids really love. So we have 32 CTE programs, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
District. Everything from culinary arts to manufacturing to graphic design, marketing. I could go on and on, but they're very
Great.
popular programs.
Excellent. Thank you. Bruce?
Yeah, I wanted to put in a plug for Terra Nova. When the pandemic hit and the students left, the field started growing Canadian thistles, and I was able to borrow the local neighborhood tractor and cultivate the fields. And when the students came back, they didn't have to worry about thistles. They could just get to planting. And now there's about 120 students who have their own little segment of planting beds, growing plants that they're studying the nutritional value of. And at the end of the year, they harvest those plants and make a meal out of them. So it's such a marvelous program.
I asked the kids what their favorite class was, what their favorite part of being at Terra Nova was, and they said the cooking class.
Or the eating class, I don't know,
Yeah.
but they also donate.
But I was thrilled to see a few years ago, I went to the plant sale and the plants were almost unusable because the labels were terrible. And as a gardener, you want to know what you're buying. This year, the labels were stupendous. And that's another example of using English and science to make good labels for those plants. So,
yeah, and they donate that food too. I think it's important for us to say that is that they do the plant sale, but they also donate a tremendous amount of food to the Oregon Food Bank. And
for people who may not be familiar with it, that's in the building of the old Bonnie Slope Elementary, which is up at the corner of Thompson and McDaniel. And that was the elementary school around here back in the olden days.
Yeah.
And it was brought into the district a number of years ago as a alternative high school for kids that were interested in learning more about agriculture, farming, and applied science. So
yeah, just to be clear, Terra Nova is a program, not a high school. So what that means is that we have
for a few days. Yeah.
We have students who they go to Sunset, for example, but then they take their science and their, maybe it's an elective, I can't remember, but they take part of their day, two periods of their day at Terra Nova. So they're bussed over to Terra Nova and then but they go to Sunset and they're a Sunset student or they're a Mountainside student or a Southridge student, but they're still having a very unique experience.
But for some of them, makes a difference between staying in school and being totally disinterested. So I love it. Anyway,
I'll add one quick thing. It's probably my favorite example of community partnerships because Urban Gleaners is based in Southeast Portland, and we have 8 pantries and farmers markets that we have currently at schools across the district. They serve us, but Terra Nova turns around and serves them by growing produce for them, and then they can then share that with the rest of Portland or even back at our schools. It's a great way of giving back.
Being a kid, knowing that the work that you put in at school is going to feed a family.
Yeah, it's a tremendous program.
Excellent. Well, you know what? We're winding up here a little bit early. If any of the attendees or the folks down at Cedar Grove, let me put in a good word for that. Cedar Grove is can we stop the screen share and bring everybody up on camera? Everybody who's still on the panel, jump in. There we go. So Cedar Grove is a low-income, affordable housing development at the corner of Murray and Cornell. Murray and Cornell. And there was a long process to get it to happen. It was surplus property that the county owned after the intersection was improved, and one thing and another, and it was decided that Community Partners for Affordable Housing would take over the management of the facility, and it was built, and they have this beautiful community room that you can see here, which is available for all sorts of groups to use. It has a big screen, which is what these people sitting here in the meeting are watching, the Zoom meeting on the big screen. The office of our parent group at the county provided us with a kit way before COVID that allowed us to do hybrid meetings. And so that's what we've got going there. We've got a combination camera and microphone, so that the people in the room can be full participants, and it's working. It's working. I'm sitting here in my office, and Bruce is there at the site, and hybrid meetings can work. We like it.
Can I say one thing? I'm here for my first meeting, and the parking situation here is a disaster. And
yeah, well, I recommend that people park in the southeast corner of the Safeway lot, because you just have to cross a couple of streets.
yeah, but it's not noted in the Facebook event where I didn't even know. I had to like find the Facebook event for May. It's just not, if we're trying to bring people in and make it easy for them to access community centered politics, it was just not easy. You know, it took me.
Well, I'm hoping we can work out some of those issues, because the Cedar Mill Library isn't good because they close at 8. We really like the idea of Cedar Grove because we want to reach out to some of the residents to get them involved. Our marching orders from the county are to be more inclusive. So
Okay.
It'd be nice to have like signage, you know, because I parked around the back.
Yeah.
And then I that door, and I had to then like go and look up how to, I don't know if the meeting was canceled or what was going
Okay, well,
on.
that's good information. And we
You know,
can
I just-
use more signs and explain where to park.
Well, I think it's just nice.
So Mary Lou has her hand up. Let's hear from Mary Lou.
Well, the reason I had my hand up is that you've had the chat disabled the entire time I've been on here. So I couldn't write anything in there. No one else is writing anything in there. And the other thing is that I went to that that community meeting about that seven parcel.
The Dale Street property, yeah.
And so it got over with, right about 8 o'clock. So then I switched over here. But
Right.
I didn't know if you wanted me to say anything about tree keepers or not.
Why not? Let me promote you to panelist so you can be on screen.
Virginia, with your permission, we'll scoot off if there's no other.
Yes, thank
questions for
you,
Beaverton
Christina
School
and
District.
Shelley. Thank you very much for
Absolutely.
attending. You
You
can
all
stay and
share our
listen if you-
emails. We're happy to chat. Thanks for having
Excellent.
us.
Okay, Christina, could you put your contact information in the chat before you jump out?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hi, Mary Lou.
Hello. Okay, here
Thank
I
you for
am.
multitasking for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to attend these meetings, but then that neighborhood meeting was at the exact same time. So I asked a bunch of questions. Because I'm worried about the tree loss. And there aren't that many huge trees. It's not a densely treed area, except where the wetland is.
Right.
And where that wetland is, then there are trees all the way around it, and they aren't going to touch those. But I asked the developer if he had any idea whether or not that, since he's starting over again with this application. I mean, they put the application in before, but and it was approved, but But
abandoned.
they ran out of time. Their permits ran out. So they had no choice but to start over. So I wanted to know if the county's remand of the to rewrite
The stay.
SNR business on the goal 5. I wanted to know if he recognized that that could impact his application because he's starting over. So it's not like he can use the other one that was approved. He
Right.
has,
And I've had email interaction with him, and he claims that they are going to protect everything in the SNR and not impact that.
well, I think he thinks that's what he wants to. He wants that to be okay. To promise not to not do anything with those with the wetland, and I think he doesn't know. I think it's wishful thinking.
Here it is again.
Yeah.
So this is actually Cedar Mill Creek. There's Cornell going down this way, and there's Dale, and there's Dale, and this is the SNR. This is low value, all the blue, dark blue. This is moderate value, whatever that means. It's definitely degraded, as they say, but that doesn't mean it is worthless or it couldn't be restored. But
no, and he swears that his plan is to make it a lot better than it is.
Well, and it might.
And
it might.
And those 7 structures are going to be joined by one wall all the way along, just one row, 2-story, and plenty of parking, he says. But in the driveway and in the garage and on the street.
So, Mary, I think you and I should hook up afterwards, and I'm going to call this meeting accomplished.
Good.
But thank you very much for multitasking, coming back to let us know about it.
Right. Well, I missed the whole first part.
Fran has her hand up. Fran, please jump in.
Since I'm on the task force for the committee for the what they call the reduced project, goal 5 project. I have a inside track with communication. So can you give me the action item? Mary brought up a good point in general, which is if any of the existing development applications have expired for the 120-day period that they're given, then if they renew or open it, are they subject to the stay by the state, or are they dismissed from that? So that's a good one. I will report back on that. So not everybody's going to the LUT to ask that question, or the state. And the second one is I usually do an in-depth SNR analysis with data and everything else. I haven't taken a look at this one, but it looks like I should do that because it seems to be a lot of neighborhood energy on this one. So I will do some analysis about exactly what you're saying. But I think this is one of those cases I was talking about where the builders are looking at a way, or the developers looking at a way to circumvent the stay by saying, oh, we're going to build up to these significant natural resource. But we all know that you need a buffer zone, you need certain other
They have a
attributes.
50-foot.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, they have a 50-foot buffered zone.
I'll report back to you, Virginia.
Thank you. Okay, unless I see any other hands popping up, I am going to say thank you all for joining CPO1 once again for our May meeting. I don't know what we're going to do in June, but I'll keep you posted. Our attendance was very small tonight, probably partly because of the weather, and also partly because I didn't get stuff up on Facebook or on our email list, and I really want some help with that. So anybody out there that wants to jump in, please do. I can't do it all. So with that, I declare this meeting adjourned. Good night. And
Okay,
it's going to be available on YouTube any minute now. And if you saw something tonight that you want to share with your friends, point them to our YouTube page. Good night.
bye.